into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us, from personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
No putting the genie back in the box when it comes to these types of high-profile cases.
Yeah, there is that distinction between when you see an artist sketch versus live coverage 24/7. I mean, even comparing it to a Karen Reed trial. I mean, someone who's not a celebrity, but people get wrapped up in the court process. So certainly this is favoring Combs just to be an artist sketch. So I think there are,
but also not necessarily just favoring Sean Diddy Combs. The judge probably prefers that because it probably, they feel, will allow this process to be 100% fair. That way you can also avoid to this.
Now, I want to get into her exact testimony, right? And sip that tea. So I'm looking for that distinctively. If you guys have that, please, please, please send that to me, okay? That's what I'm looking for distinctively. Let me see.
There was also a level of manipulation. There was also a level of her wanting to please him. Sean Combs is seen in the sketch taking notes during the morning arguments in his trafficking trial in New York City. Combs of rape and SA could ruin his career. Asked by defense lawyers what
so many commercials
what his career after she filed, Ventura responded, "That's a lot." Prosecutors objected to that question. Defense lawyers then rephrased, asking if she understood how the publicity surrounding the lawsuit ruined his career. Ventura responded, "I can understand that." The defense asked Cassie Ventura to confirm that Combs both built up and knocked down her confidence, citing text messages between the pair. Ventura agreed, also acknowledging that Combs called her a queen. Words were helpful, she said. He got that inspiring energy inside of him. And we've seen it. Other artists, other people that have been around Diddy will talk about that. This is why he was the main guy to go to party with, because he was like a great hype man. Combs needed to be constantly updated about Ventura's whereabouts, perhaps concerned that she was stepping out on their relationship, the witness said. When asked what would trigger a spike in telephone calls from Combs, Ventura said it could be for any number of reasons. Could be anything from not telling him where I was, angry about me, could be anything. Maybe he assumed I was cheating, she said. I don't know. Also, I don't know if he knew the relationship between Ryan Leslie and her, and she's flying down, being with him, and now you slept with him. Now he's probably always thinking, oh, she did that to Ryan, do that to me, possibly. Not to say that Diddy was innocent either, because she also testified that he was with many other women, her thinking that she was the only one, but he was with other women. When asked if she believed the volume of calls spiked when Combs theorized Ventura was cheating, she said yes. Cassie Ventura alleged during testimony that while Combs was a wealthy businessman and record executive, he was doing so under the influence of drugs. He needed to recover, Ventura told the courtroom, referring to Combs' alleged drug abuse. Ventura also accused Combs of also using ecstasy and cocaine. Asked whether she thought Combs was a drug addict, Ventura responded, I would say he was an addict. She answered yes when defense attorneys asked if Combs would become angry or volatile during withdrawals. I'm not a doctor. Coming off of certain pills, he would be pretty irritated, Ventura testified. And allegedly, they said when he was arrested, they found some of that pink powder in his hotel room. And my thing is, if he was this addicted to drugs, I can't even imagine that he had stopped. Okay.
No, he had it.
U.S. District Judge
alleged when he got arrested in New York, knowing that the feds had raided him, knowing that the feds were looking for him, wanting to talk to him, he still was parading around with the pink cocaine on his purse in his hotel room. When they arrested him, the video of the footage of him at the hotel, he looked like he wanted to run. Like, oh my God, I'm caught. I'm caught. Like you would catch a rat in a corner and they'd be like, I'm trying to run. Yeah, that was Diddy.
Aaron Subramanian called for a lunchtime recess and asked jurors to return to the courtroom at 1 p.m. Eastern. The judge told the lawyers he wasn't happy with the of Ventura's examination. Because he wants the 8 months pregnant woman to be done sooner rather than later.
Well, of course, Diddy does not want this salacious testimony about the ins and outs of the relationship. You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, the word love is thrown around in there. Yeah, he may have given himself the name love, but not for nothing. Diddy was anything and everything but that, right? So, of course, Cassie being one of his very long time living girlfriends, women in his life, right? To like the most current recent stuff from the past decade of what Diddy's life has been, she can testify to that. And no, of course, Diddy does not want that. Okay.
When the defense said that they would need all day today and all day tomorrow, the judge angrily responded, "That is the exact opposite of what I was told."
Keep being lazy about cleaning your apartment.
I understand that the judge has a job, the defense, the prosecutors have a job, and God does. So if Cassie wants to give birth on a stand right now, she will. Because that's just what that does.
Damn. This judge means business. Because remember, he had told Garagos that what you said on your podcast is inappropriate. And he said, you have a new listener. I was like, damn, this judge does not play. The witness needed to be off the stand by the end of the week. So what happened? The clearly perturbed judge said. So he agrees with the prosecution that he would like Cassie to be done by tomorrow. So they're going to have to really get to it this week, between now and tomorrow. So the opening hours of Cassie Ventura's cross-examination were a bit of a slog, with the defense questioning, jumping around in subject and timeline, and frequently interrupted by prosecution's objections. Those starts and stops appeared to hinder Combs' lawyer, Anna Estavo, from smoothly making the defense's case that Ventura was often a willing participant in the witness's seemingly abusive relationship with the defendant. And Ventura appeared to have caught onto the defense line of questioning. She often interjected qualifying terms such as "at the time" to frame her relationship with Combs as a complicated one that could toggle between caring and violent. So they, of course, prepared Cassie for this as well. All right. So they do also show photos that Justin Combs, Quincy, and King Combs also leave the courthouse. Janice Combs was also there as well. The thing that I mentioned on Twitter in regards to this is the fact that we have not seen the twins or Chance, his daughters, at the courthouse the last couple of days. And part of me was sort of like, was this because so many people have been saying, why are you allowing your daughters to hear some of this very explicit freak off events and things like that? Like, we understand the boys are older, but these are 18 and 19-year-old girls. To be honest with you, I wouldn't want my mother, I wouldn't want children to hear any of this stuff. Okay. However, I noticed that the last couple of days we have not seen the twins and Chance. Law and Crime mentioned the fact that the twins were preparing for prom and graduation and things like that. So that could be part of the reason, but now we don't see anyone else there. I also saw that Misa, through her attorneys, Misa Hilton, through her attorney, said the only reason why she went, I don't believe she's been there since day one. The only reason why she went was to be there as a support for her son, Justin, and for the other children. Okay. All right. So let's get back into this. The judge appears to still be agitated from the back and forth he had with Combs' attorney prior to the break. His agitation stems from the speed in which the defense is questioning Cassie Ventura. The judge sternly reminded the defense that it was given a day and a half to cross-examine Ventura, who is 8 months pregnant, and that she should be done by the end of the week. So he agrees with the prosecution. Combs's attorney, Mark Agnafilo, argued that Ventura should be able to come back Monday morning if needed. Okay. The judge shot back. In what universe did you not understand this was what was going to happen? Damn. You're not telling me this wasn't everyone's understanding that this witness was going to be done this week. Ventura was reviewing exhibits in a side room while the exchange took place. Cassie Ventura testified that during her relationship with Combs, she became jealous of his ex-girlfriend, Kim Porter. Ventura admitted to the jealousy after being asked by the defense attorney if Combs ever left a freak off with her only to visit Porter afterward. Ventura agreed that she was upset about not having the chance to form a relationship with Combs' children, despite having a relationship with him for 7 years at that point. Ventura also acknowledged that it could be heartbreaking seeing Porter with the children and that she wanted to be a part of the Combs family, not just his sexual fantasy. Just picture that, because he has all these kids and you're not allowed to engage or get to know them. So what does that make you feel like? And again, for those that like to sit here and judge Cassie, some of y'all are in similar situations. It's just not a high profile individual. Some of y'all have never even met some of these people's friends, best friends, family, mothers, whatever it may be. And we're talking 7 years in and Cassie hasn't been able to connect with them. Wow. Ventura said of Porter, "I had some jealousy." Cassie Ventura says that things got a little scary when Combs found out that she was cheating on him. She also admitted to being upset when she found out that Combs was spending time with a woman named Gina in 2014. Ventura said the infidelity prompted arguments. Cassie admits to keeping a burner phone while she was dating rapper Kid Cudi, to keeping the relationship private and away from Combs. And I believe that relationship with Kid Cudi only lasted like a month. "I thought it would be way too dangerous if he found out," she said. As she was dating Cudi, Ventura said that she continued to have freak-offs with Combs because to her, it was a job. Can you imagine what where your head is in regards to that? Even though she was dating Kid Cudi, but she was still doing this with Sean or for Sean. When Combs found out about Cudi while going through her phone during one of the freak-offs, Ventura said that Combs attacked her. Cassie says that Combs kicked her in the back at his house after finding out that she was cheating on him with rapper Kid Cudi in 2011. When asked by Combs' attorney if her relationship with Cudi drove Mr. Combs crazy, Ventura replied, "To my knowledge, it wasn't good." She confirmed that Combs was especially offended by the affair with Cudi because of his status within the music industry. She added that suspicions and grievances over infidelity came up repeatedly throughout their relationship. Mind you, Diddy's over here with how many different baby mamas literally during their relationship. Cassie Ventura told the jury that Combs suspected being in a relationship with actor Michael B. Jordan. So there are a lot of names that are being brought up during this trial. Okay. Asked what Combs' reaction was to the alleged relationship, Ventura said, "I wasn't there to see it." Ventura said that she couldn't remember if Combs tried to text her about him, but he did try to make contact. When I think about this, though, didn't Michael B. Jordan date Lori Harvey?
Yep.
And then didn't Sean Combs at one particular point have like this relationship with Lori Harvey?
Yep. And did it Lori Harvey also have a relationship in the same night with Puffy's son? Rumor has it she went from her Puffy's kid's son's room, one of his sons, to his room after she pleasured Puffy's son. She turned around and went to Puffy's bedroom and also, you know, had intercourse with Puffy as well. Okay? Rumor has it.
Was that in order to get a dig at Michael B. Jordan? Okay. I'm just connecting the dots and speculation.
Probably.
So she said he tried to make contact. Cassie described Combs' reaction to her taking illicit drugs without him as explosive. Ventura added that he told his drug dealers in LA to stop giving her drugs. Cassie Ventura testified that she sent text messages to Combs' chief of staff, KK, Christina Curran, about an incident in which he allegedly dangled someone over a balcony. So we've heard that infamous story for a very long time. People speculated that it was Wale. Wale had said that it wasn't him. Ventura acknowledging hearing about Combs supposedly dangling.
Wale confirmed that it was not himself who was dangled out of a window over a balcony by Diddy. Well, once it was tension between Wale and Diddy at a music studio where he sent her, Cassie, to work with Wale at the time, or however have you, Wale was around. Diddy walked in. Wale got shook because Diddy thought that, his interaction with Cassie was a little bit more flirtatious than it should have been. And then did y'all just run he threw him over a balcony? Or was that not what happened? Because Wale could say it didn't happen, but it did, and just be embarrassed behind the fact that Diddy dangled his ass out of a window. But whatever.
Brianna Bogolan over a balcony after the fact, but still reached out to a person in Combs' inner circle. I did text that. There were other crazy things that happened, Ventura told the court, adding she couldn't remember the name of the person she sent the text to. I saw what I saw, so I don't know.
Dear Dr. K, I used to think I was never meant to be beautiful. I was teased because of my teeth. I didn't like.
So Combs once overdosed. So this was some, for lack of a better word, tea that came out in her testimony. So apparently Combs once overdosed on painkillers, and the drug dependence fueled some of the rapper's mood swings, she said. During this cross-examination by defense lawyer Anna Estavo, Ventura was asked if Combs ever overdosed and if she was ever addicted. Ventura answered yes to both. And when the defense asked if Combs' mood swings were tied to pills, Ventura affirmatively replied it was a part of it. Ventura confirmed to the court that there were never any drugs contained in the baby oil. Okay, so this was a question that I asked, I think in like day 2 or day 3. I can't at this particular point remember everything. So she's confirming that the baby oil did not have drugs. You remember that? That was one of the rumors. So Cassie confirmed to the court that there was never any drugs contained in the baby oil used during the freak-offs with Combs. Combs was accused in a lawsuit last year of spiking the lubricant with GHB, commonly referred to as the date grape drug. All right. And as I take a little bit of a break from this, I do want to remind you guys, for those that enjoy hot topics or reality TV recaps, the Kempire After Dark, the villain era, is coming to a city near you. First of all, Philly, I'm coming there on July 10th. Atlanta, I'm coming there on August 5th. I have another August date that I can't yet announce. And then I'm coming back to New York City on Friday, September 12th. Ticket information is available in the description. Tickets officially go on sale for Atlanta and Philly tomorrow.
So Kempire's wrapping up.
In order to just numb her pain. And yesterday we told you that she said because of the constantness of these freak-offs, she had UTIs, she had sores in her mouth. Like, she went through a lot. Cassie Ventura told the court that Combs expressed concern about getting caught in the Matrix, their code for getting too high during freak-offs. Ventura proposed a shorter freak-off session.
And I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to reiterate on that point right there. I'm sure it was a drug-fueled mess when they were together. So many years of drug usage between Cassie and Diddy. I'm sure there's a lot more than met the eye from that hotel video. Okay.
Session at the Intercontinental Hotel to avoid getting too high before her film premiere. A Matrix is like the high, and we would be getting too high for anything sexual to happen. There would be no performance, Ventura said during court. They continue, says Cassie Ventura was asked by the defense if she took a bad batch of MDMA, which is ecstasy, at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles hotel before Combs was caught on camera doing what he did to her in 2016. Ventura responded that she didn't recall exactly what she took or how the freak-off began at the hotel. That testimony brought an end to a grueling day of cross-examination that will continue Friday morning. So U.S. District Court Judge Aaron Subramanian is urging Combs' lawyers to wrap up their questions for the 8-month pregnant witness. We will try to narrow it down, defense lawyer Mark Agnifilo said. This is a critical witness, and I will come back in the morning and give you an estimate. It is an important and a very important case, is what he says to the judge. Well, look, he's got to push back. His job is to defend Diddy, and they want to be able to keep her up there because they probably have a whole lot of questions. They want to build a case against Cassie and to make her out to be this person that is not credible. And she is a key witness in their case. Some may say, a lot of legal experts have said, she is the reason that these federal charges were brought against him. So they want to discredit.
And so far, have we heard anything, sippers, conspiring to X traffic in the case so far? Drop your tea in the chat. Let me know what you guys feel.
They discredit her. They pretty much wrap this case up. But we shall see. Again, the prosecution bringing Cassie out so early on could be practical, or it could be we have a lot more. And just when I thought I was done, let me come back, because not only will Aubrey O'Day be testifying allegedly, we don't know yet. They said that Dawn Richard is expected to be the next witness for the government. Remember I said that, I think it's in yesterday's video. They said Dawn Richard, a former member of the group Danny Kane, is expected to take the witness stand on Friday once lawyers finish questioning Ventura. I don't know if they will get to Dawn Richard. If they're trying to finish up with Cassie, I don't think that she will be testifying
Not this week,
tomorrow,
maybe.
but definitely next week. So they said that Dawn Richard, a former member of the girl group Danny Kane, is expected to take the witness stand on Friday once lawyers finish questioning Ventura. Prosecutor Maureen Comey said Richard last year filed a lawsuit against Combs accusing him of groping, assaulting, and imprisoning her. Here's the thing. I said this yesterday that possibly that Dawn Richard could be testifying because, remember, she said in her own lawsuit, witnessing Diddy punch Cassie in the stomach at a dinner. I'm not 100% completely surprised. Guys, as always, let's continue this conversation in the comment section. I want to know your thoughts and opinions.
We're going to wrap up with Kempire. Thank you so much, Kempire, for that great, riveting understanding of what's been going on inside the courtroom on the stand. Okay, let's go over to Law and Crime and see where they are this morning, guys. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. I've been live for like 3 or 4 hours, right? Just catching up on everything that is Diddy's trial. Okay, missed a couple of days, have my own personal affairs to deal with while I am being blessed in my life, you know, minimal stress, working through any mess. We're going to go over to live Cassie Ventura testifying Diddy's ex trafficking trial, okay? Let's see where they are on day 5. And jump in here and get this tea. I really want to thank everybody that has been sipping tea with me. We are at 80,000 views in a month, guys. That's incredible. I've only been back on YouTube for a month, okay? I've got about 70 new subscribers, which is really wonderful. You guys have been sipping tea with me in my comment section. That is very satisfying to comment with you guys and see what all you guys are thinking and sipping as far as everything going on. Let's see where they are with what's been going on today, because we know that Law and Crime likes to watch the the courthouse for hours before they get to their commentary. So we're going to get right to the commentary they're updating us with today, okay? Let's see. And it's up right now.
Judge does not want her coming back next week, so it's all going to be wrapped up today. We expect Elizabeth Milner, our in-court reporter, to be coming out shortly. She'll give us a recap about what she saw, what she heard in that courtroom. As you know, there are no cameras in that courtroom. There's no audio recording in that courtroom. So this is our best bet to report to you in real time about what is happening in that courtroom. Now, I said her cross-examination. The cross-examination of Cassandra Ventura continued. So this is alleged victim number one in this case, supporting the charges of racketeering, sex trafficking, prostitution. She is being cross-examined by Diddy's defense attorney, Anna Estevao. Interesting cross-examination today. She was questioned about this audio tape of her where she's allegedly threatening somebody who may have had a video of a freak-off, maybe was going to release it, threatened to kill this person. Jonathan Oddie, person we've talked a lot about on Sidebar. This is a guy who allegedly shot up one of the Trump properties years ago, said that he was a sex slave of Diddy. Nobody believed it at the time. Well, a lot of people talk about him now. His name came up today as potentially being the source of this video. It does go to the idea, though, that Sean Combs may have made sure that this video never got not as a way, as the prosecution would say, to cover up evidence of his crimes, remember the racketeering, criminal enterprise, all that, but rather he wanted to protect Cassandra Ventura. And there's a lot of that today. There's a lot of that love between the two of them. Apparently, she said on the stand she doesn't even hate Diddy to this day. There was a lot of discussion of Diddy going to rehab. There was also an interesting back and forth about whether she went to memory therapy. So we're going to take your questions right now. A lot to discuss. I'm not going to do it alone. I am joined right now by SiriusXM host Mina Sewat-Lona. Great to see you, Mina. Thanks so much for taking the time. And trial attorney Ben Chu, who, as we know, famously represented Johnny Depp in his very high-profile trial. So, okay, Mina, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this week. It's an interesting week. We are getting a glimpse into a very different lifestyle, very similar to how we got into a glimpse of the celebrity lifestyle in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. What are you taking away from, let's say, the cross-examination of Cassandra Ventura this week? And, you know, just generally what she had to say under direct.
I think it's really painting a different side of the relationship. The prosecution did a good job of highlighting some of the volatile things that happen in the relationship, some of the things that might be consistent with what he's being charged with. But the defense is really trying to humanize Diddy and really have it come across that they were in a complicated relationship that we may not understand, something called voyeurism. But they're trying to establish that there was a relationship there, that there were feelings and love there, and just really soften the time that they spent together.
And Ben, what is your take on it? Because I'm curious, I've been asking people, has this cross-examination changed the game for the prosecution, or does it not? You know, there's a lot of cross-examination yesterday about her being allegedly a willing participant in the freak-offs, that she was encouraging them, she was proactively taking steps to move forward with them, that she had her own drug use, maybe that she wasn't necessarily Sean Combs, jealousy and love and violence in the relationship, but it's a domestic spat, not sex trafficking or racketeering. But, you know, does it negate what we heard in the first 2 days of testimony?
Jesse, I agree with Mina that that's what the defense is trying to do, to humanize him. But at the end of the day, I think the jury is going to have the indelible image of that video that's already been played several times. And the fact that they had some loving moments does not mitigate or undo what everybody has seen. It doesn't prove much to say that they had some times when they were happy together. That video shows horrible, cruel violence, and I don't see how that's going to be unseen by the jury.
Let's take some questions right now. We got a question from Ashley Glass. What does cross-examination mean? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it basically means the other side is questioning that witness. So right now, Cassandra Ventura, since she is the prime witness for the prosecution, the government, she is being cross-examined. She is being questioned by Sean Combs' lawyer. Got a question from Magra VYN54. Jesse, you're looking sharp as always. I didn't add that. It actually says this, just so you know. Jess, thank you very much. Appreciate it. My question is, when can we expect the release of Puff Daddy? So it's interesting here, Mina, because there are people, if you go on X, you go on social media, whose opinions have been swayed during the last several days. You know, they hear Cassandra Ventura's testimony, or at least they're based on the reporting of it, but they're not convinced that Diddy is guilty of these crimes. And I've said it before. This is a very complicated case, racketeering, sex trafficking. It's not that the jury can just say, oh, you know, he violently assaulted Cassandra Ventura, he's guilty. No, it's not if he sexually abused her, he's guilty. There are specific elements here, and there are people out there who believe he will be acquitted.
Well, at the end of the day, they are not in the jury pool. So the court of public opinion, I'm sorry to say, but your opinion does not matter.
Well, we hope, by the way, we hope they're not tweeting, you know, during lunch breaks. But, yeah.
Right. But I think that you can't really make an opinion on day 4 of a trial, right? This is supposed to last up to, they're saying maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months. Cassie is not, from what I'm hearing, the only alleged victim here. So we have to wait and see what these other witnesses are going to say. There's a Jane Doe that they keep mentioning. There are rumors online of who the Jane Doe is, but we have to wait, right? The federal government does not go after someone without having all their ducks in a row. Cassie, I'm pretty sure, is not the only victim here. They will present other evidence. Let's wait to see what evidence the federal government has, and then you can make your judgments and your opinions.
Okay, we have a super chat question from Nest Dog. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your contribution here. So, Ben, I'll go to you. Nest Dog asks, I don't understand the defense. It doesn't seem like they're trying to disprove the charges. It's all about the relationship?
Yeah, Nest Dog, that's an excellent question. And I had the same question about this cross-examination. I don't think it's very effective, especially, as Mina said, when you have other victims who are coming forward. If this were just a he said, she said, I could see it, but not here. I think we all have to wait, as Mina suggested, to see what the prosecution has on the more technical aspects. But I think the prosecution is wise to start with this because they have the video. And I think that really sets the stage for the jury being open to those technical parts.
I think the cross-examination is trying to negate some of the factors in a few ways, right? So the big thing with sex trafficking is force, fraud, coercion. Well, if it was consensual and she's a willing participant for so many of these encounters, does that mean that all of it was consensual? Tough to say. But then, you know, there's this idea of the power dynamic, that he controlled all aspects of her life, controlled her finances, controlled the way she looked. They tried to downplay it and say, well, he was just giving her constructive feedback about her appearance. You know, there's love in this relationship. There was jealousy that this was, you know, maybe going to her motivations to go after him a little bit. I see what they're doing. I think this case is all going to come down to closing arguments and how each side articulates it, because it is.
End of the day, it doesn't matter how this trial ends up. I think that she is going to be an inspiration to a lot of other victims. There's still a debate whether this is a sex trafficking case or not, but no one can deny that this is not domestic abuse as well. This woman has been abused mentally, physically, financially, and emotionally. And I think for other victims, this is a big moment in where this woman gets to tell her story. So I think that she recognizes that, and despite being weeks away from having a baby, I heard that her due date might be at the top of June. She's in her third trimester. She understands the importance of her making it to court and speaking up for herself and telling her story.
Yeah, and I think it's important to emphasize, first of all, they had to get her in there immediately, right? Because she might be giving birth. Alleged victim number 3, they can't find that person, so that becomes a big problem for the prosecution's case. Here's an interesting one, and I don't know the answer to this, Ben. So Rita Connors asks, hey, Jesse, do the jurors get any special security protection? I'm concerned jurors may be afraid if they find him guilty that they or their family may be a target. Now, again, I don't know the specific security parameters that may be put here. They're obviously not, sequestered. But look, you handled a high-profile case. Are there specific protections put in place for these jurors when the world is watching?
Rita's question is excellent. I don't know what security measures are taken here. In the Depp case, we really didn't have any special measures taken with respect to the jury other than a marshal always being with them, escorting them to and from their deliberation room. But it's a legitimate concern, and perhaps the government could make a petition for that to put the jurors more at ease.
Got a question from Fabia Faiza Abanti. Go to you, Mina. What are the things that the defense can use to disprove the power dynamics?
Hi, Fabia is her name?
Fabia.
Hi, Fabia. I don't know what they can use, honestly. It just seems like he has the power. He has the money. He has the influence. He controls her career. I can't believe he signed her to a 10-album deal. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Even if she released an album every year, she would be locked in that recording deal for 10 years. She recorded, according to her testimony, 9 albums worth of music, which weren't released. So he was going to not only lock her in work-wise, but also they had a relationship going on. So he had that power. And then you have to remember the age gap. There's a 17-year age gap here. There's always going to be a power dynamic there. He met her when she was a teenager. She was 19. So already from the beginning, he's establishing all this power. And I don't know how they're going to disprove that, because she doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the control over her career. And she's in a relationship with him in where every time she tries to leave, there's violence, right? She tries to date Kid Cudi. He threatens to blow up his car. Guess what happened? His car blew up. So she can't even move on from this situation without feeling a threat, according to her testimony. So I don't know how they're going to do that, honestly.
I mean, I think they try to suggest that the things that he was doing were in her best interest and he wasn't trying to control her. But I mean, the power dynamic, you can't argue who he was and who she was. And even, she said, at the beginning of her testimony, Sean Combs kind of introduced her to certain sex acts, right? And it's uncomfortable to say, but it's part of the conversation. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Mina, Ben, stand by. We're going to take a very quick break. Why? Because we're getting Elizabeth Milner, who was in that courtroom, on with us. We're going to hear what she saw, what she heard. Stay with us.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I don't know what had happened. But I got the feedback
in Atlantic City that he had seen a video of her and explicit.
For the continued cross-examination of Cassandra Ventura, we believe she's going to be exiting the stand today. Elizabeth, so good to see you. I understand the elements are against you right now. I want to make sure that we get to you quick. I have to jump back into the courtroom. Interesting day of cross-examination. What is the mood in the courtroom? And what is the theme of the cross-examination today?
Well, the mood in the courtroom was definitely seeing where this cross-examination would essentially go to, especially after yesterday. There were a lot of kind of comments yesterday just about how Estevao was asking the line of questioning. She seemed kind of frantic. She seemed kind of like she didn't know how to ask the next question. She's over kind of conferring with her other counsel who's at the defense table, kind of wanting to know and insinuate what is going to be happening next. A lot of the conversation, especially towards the beginning today, was just about the Intercontinental Hotel back in 2016. The defense asked Cassie, you said Diddy blacked out during this incident, and Cassie wrote in a message, she said, when you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me that you have the power to knock me around like a rag doll. And the defense was kind of insinuating that during this moment, during this incident that happened in 2016, something that a lot of us saw on that surveillance video, they were kind of making it seem that Diddy was having a bad reaction to drugs, having a bad reaction to mixing it with alcohol, because even yesterday when they were cross-examining Cassie, they were talking about how he might have taken a bad batch of drugs during this incident. And even days prior to it, he might have been experiencing drug withdrawals during this incident. Again, trying to make it seem like this was the reason why he had attacked her on that surveillance video. Then they go back to 2016, where they're that same year, where the defense is asking, did Diddy accuse Cassie of cheating on him with some unnamed football? Wasn't sure how Diddy had learned of this. Cassie said she was dating someone else, but not sure how he found out. Diddy grabbed her phone, took off, and left without her phone. Her mom actually had to call the cops essentially to get her phone back. Diddy spoke with someone on her phone while he had taken her phone away from her, and that was kind of the crux of that phone conversation. Then Cassie was asked, how many times did Diddy take your phone away from you? And she said, you know, he did do this often, as well as take other things from her, lock her outside of her home, take her car away, that type of thing, something that she had even answered to under the direct examination. Then there was another point where the defense was trying to say, you know, did Diddy take your phone away after he caught you dancing with Chris Brown? This in 2013. Cassie says she doesn't necessarily remember this situation because possibly to her, this is something that just happens so often. Then I think, you know, Jesse, one of the that had happened today was we heard this audio recording of Cassie back in 2014 as she was confronting this man named Sujit. Sujit had told Cassie in Atlantic City that he had seen a video of her, an sexually explicit video of her, and Cassie wanted to know where this video came from. How did it come into his possession? Because she had assumed that this was a freak-off video of her that was about to get leaked. And so we hear her in this audio confronting Sujit, and kind of, I think the point that the defense was trying to make was just that Cassie would commit violence. She said things along the lines of asking repeatedly, can I see this video? It's not me touching myself because you said someone else was inside that room. Sujit said that he had this video clip on his phone. You can hear Cassie saying, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will put you in a desert, I will cut you. She kept saying, I will kill you because you're effing with my life. And Cassie, at one point in this audio clip, said she'll get someone else actually to do it, and said that this SHIT is not cool. And, you know, I think essentially the defense was trying to point out, because this was something under her direct examination, that she was talking about how Diddy security guards entered a conversation and they all had a sit-down meeting at a restaurant to obtain this video back. But from the defense's perspective, they're trying to essentially insinuate that Cassie was threatening to kill. And look, we've all been there, right? Where, you know, I could have a bad day and say, I will kill. Actually, let me just kind of take that back a little bit, because I don't want this to be used against me or anything like that. But, you know, there have been points where I think anybody can argue that we have all said at one point that, oh, I'm going to kill you because that's how mad we get at another point. Another interesting moment that was discussed during this morning's testimony was Jonathan Auty. And we all know Jonathan Auty very well here at Law and Crime, especially you, Jesse, because you've covered him a number of times on Sidebar. Cassie was saying that Jonathan had taken a secret video of Cassie and Diddy during a freak-off, and Diddy tried to make this video go away. That Diddy spent actually a significant amount of money to make sure that this video didn't get released. And even after Audie had taken this video during this freak-off, Cassie had admitted that they never used Audie ever again during one of their freak-offs. She said that she was pretty concerned about the situation, concerned that Jonathan Audie would release this video. There was even a point that they had discussed today just about Garrett and Cowboys for Angels, an escort service that they had used often to kind of get escorts to their freak-offs, and that they actually had a reality show on Showtime about this called a presumably Gigolo or something along those lines of that, and that some of the contestants on this show were some of the escorts used in these freak-offs. And, you know, I could tell just being inside that courtroom today that there were some moments of just, I don't know if it was embarrassment or nerves or just kind of like, where is this going? Why are we talking about this? Especially as the defense was asking her about her rehab stint in 2023, where they were asking her, what type of treatment did you go for? Were you going just for depression, or were you going for sex addiction and love addiction? They were talking about how she did treatment therapy, where she had hooked up pretty much wires to her brains just to kind of help her through trauma therapy, and how she was recounting her memories. And I could tell that that was kind of a hard point for her to talk about, one, because it was so recent. I mean, 2023 was just a couple years ago, and this was months before she had filed her lawsuit. And so I could tell during those moments that a lot of us were kind of like, where is this going, and why are they getting so personal? Her time during kind of like, is this even necessary for them to talk about? And, you know, I'm, again, not in the jurors' minds, but yeah. I was wondering if there was a little bit confusion on their end of what they were listening to, essentially, because in 2023, she was no longer with Diddy. She was married to her now husband. She had already had children. So we were kind of like, what does this have to actually do with her direct testimony at hand? And so, you know, from what I could see of Cassie, she still has remained just like she has been the first few days of her testimony, remaining calm, cool, and collective. She, you know, there were points you could tell where she just didn't want to recount these moments. Interesting point that she had said today is that she doesn't even hate Diddy. She said that she had love for the time that they had prior to that, but she admitted today during the cross-examination that she doesn't really hate him. And so as we were kind of wrapping things up towards the end, right before we had went to lunch break, they were kind of starting to get into the breakup and everything that happened in 2018, how Alex Fine was kind of connected to that. And even when we were in the courtroom, Alex Fine had to step out of the courtroom during those moments because the defense might call him as an impeachment witness to impeach his own wife's testimony later along whenever they get their case and whether they present their witnesses. And so those were kind of the biggest moments and the biggest highlights that I had seen inside that courtroom. As far as just tone, he was doing how Diddy always does, very much so, kind of quarterbacking his defense, jotting notes down, passing them off, handing them to his attorneys. Esteveo, I will say, she just seemed like she was just kind of scrambling a lot at times, something that I don't think is very much translated well onto the transcripts, that a lot of us are just kind of like, you know, and this is no offense to her, I don't know what to be a criminal defense attorney. I don't know what it's like to do those types of questionings, but I think a lot of us were kind of wondering, why is she the one doing the cross-examination as opposed to maybe Tenny Garagos or even Nicole Westmoreland or Alexandra Shapiro, because she just seemed a little all over the place where she didn't know where to take the questions next. She had to kind of, again, confer with Mark Agnifilo or Tenny Garagos about where the questioning would come from. So it was a little interesting to see her do this cross-examination because from our perspective, working in the press, it seemed all over the place, but no idea kind of how the jury was interpreting just all of this information.
And we're trying to make sense of it too. I mean, I think with the treatment, I wonder if the goal is to say, well, were your memories manipulated in any way? Were they affected in any way about what might have happened? I mean, it was right before you filed the lawsuit. Very interesting timing. Listen, Elizabeth, I know it's raining. I know you have to jump back into that courtroom. Thank you so much for your in-depth reporting, as always, giving us a detailed play-by-play analysis and breakdown of what's happening in there. Elizabeth, really appreciate it, as always.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse.
You got it. Okay, so we're going to continue the conversation with Mina and Ben once again. Mina, you heard what Elizabeth had to say. It felt, you know, from her perspective, a layperson's perspective, a little disjointed what the questioning is. You know, Ben and I are attorneys. We're trying to figure it out, how they're making the legal arguments. I think I'm getting a sense of where they're going. But what do you think? Is it a little too disjointed?
They're fishing. You know, they're fishing. They're trying to maybe say maybe he had a sex addiction and, or maybe this is the drugs' fault, you know. And I think you're right about it's going to come down to closing arguments, right? How do they make sense of everything that we're hearing? Are they going to say that, this was infused by drug abuse and drug use? Are they going to try to use that? Or are they going to say that addicts, they have to blame someone, right? The defense has to blame someone other than Diddy or provide an explanation for why these things happened. So they're fishing to try to do that, it seems to me.
We got a question for you, Ben. This is Lisa G. You know me. Actually, I do know a Lisa G. I don't know if that's saying that to me. Well, Lisa G. You know me. I think I know. Can someone help me understand, does Miss Ventura settling for a reported $20 million lawsuit impact her credibility in the court's eyes? I mean, Ben, the lawsuit that she filed did come up during her questioning.
Yes, I think it's a great question, and I think it might influence the jurors. On the other hand, if I were the government, I would argue that the fact that that civil lawsuit is settled actually takes away any incentive for her to make it seem worse.
So we have more super chat questions coming in. Ever Rios, thank you so much, Ever Rios. Hello, is this the same judge who denied bond? Well, there were multiple judges who ended up denying Sean Combs bond, and I believe Subramanian was the, I mean, it was 2 or 3, I forgot. It was 3, right? It was 3 judges, right? And they actually abandoned the effort at one point. You know, they could have actually fought it even higher. They could have appealed it even higher, and I think they cut their losses. They said we need to focus more on the defense, moving forward to trial. We have a question from, again, a super chat question from RegHand43. Thank you so much for the contribution. Will the prosecution team subpoena or get celebrity mogul Jay-Z on the witness stand to cross-examine? Mina, I'm going to start with you and then I'll move on to Ben. What do you think?
First of all, if you know anything about Jay-Z recently and his acumen when it comes to attorneys, I think it would be very difficult. Jay is lawyered up, basically, and I don't see his relevance, right? We haven't heard about him being involved in this at all. Social media is running rampant with allegations and speculation about who were at these kickoffs, who participated, who else aided, and knew what was going on, but he hasn't come up. And I think even if he does come up, which I don't think he's going to come up, Jay is so well versed that I'm pretty sure he will never see that courthouse.
Ben, well, and by the way, you're referring to, of course, the fact that he was accused of sexually abusing a 13-year-old girl in 2000. That lawsuit against him was dropped, arguably because the allegations against him were debunked by not only NBC News, but also Jay-Z's attorneys, or seemingly debunked, I should say. Now, Ben, I'll throw it to you. Jay-Z, we're going to see him at this trial?
No, and I agree with Mina. If I could for a second.
We haven't even saw Jay-Z nowhere around this. Jay-Z will not take any of Diddy's phone calls. He has seemingly, in the eyes of us, written Diddy off, told Diddy to make it through the best he can by his goddamn self. As most of the celebrity friends and people in high places have done, we haven't really seen anybody jump out the woodwork for Diddy.
Point about phishing. Phishing is not something, as you know, Jesse, you want to do on cross-examination. It goes back to the old adage, never ask a question to which you don't know the answer, because you can get many bad surprises on cross. What they should be doing on cross is to be extremely organized, make their points succinctly, and stop.
Yeah, and I wonder if that might be affecting things. Ben, I'll just stick with you. We had a question from BK. If Cassie's testimonial is only classified as domestic violence, who can bring and help prove the racketeering? So if I could just tweak that question a bit, do you think that her testimony so far has helped with the overall racketeering conspiracy charge, Ben? And if not, who does the prosecution need to bring to prove it?
I don't think that they've established any of the technical aspects at all yet. I think this is all about poisoning the jury's mind about Diddy, which probably was done by the video. I'm not sure who the government has, but as Mina said, the government is going to have its ducks in a row, and they're going to have witnesses who can, at least on their face, satisfy the elements.
I'll just push back and say, I think that there is a little bit that they're making. So when she testified about, you know, he has these security guards, he has these assistants who are constantly checking up on her, who are cleaning up after the freak off. So if you're talking about a criminal enterprise and him having a team of people and a conspiracy, multiple people working together, I can kind of see how that testimony helps. If she's talking about underlying predicate crimes to prove racketeering, allegedly blowing up Kid Cudi's car, arson, right? You're talking about her doing drugs, drug trafficking. She's talking about being sexually abused, sex trafficking. So I think that there are elements that are, I don't think it's crystallized. I think I'm doing mental gymnastics here myself to try to make sense of it. It'll be up to the prosecution to do. Okay, here we got a great question. Okay, this is for you, Mina. This is an interesting one. Bobby Heath. Jesse is the very best at doing sidebar. First of all, thank you. I'm not making this up, by the way. These are the actual compliments that are on here, so I appreciate it. A question I have, if this is the question, a question I have is if Cassie wasn't 9 months pregnant, would they put her on the stand last to finish strong? What do you think, Mina?
I don't think so. I think that video is so powerful. They have to establish the violence that Diddy is capable of, and then the supporting witnesses will fill in the blanks, right? Also, you have to establish the racketeering part of it and the organized crime part of it. And I think it was really strategic how they started with the bodyguard, the intercontinental bodyguard, in where the bodyguard said, I went there and he threw money at me, and you know, he bought the tape for $50,000 or something like that. And you have to really establish that there's a cover-up, right? A cover-up that's trying that they're trying to really, you know, hide what they're doing. And I think you needed to see it so they can fill in the blanks after that.
Question for you, Ben, from Daniela 3984. Please keep them coming in. We got a lot of questions coming in right now. But can new witnesses, Ben, added by the state attorney, prosecutor, or would it be possible for the judge not to allow new witnesses? That's a good question, a trial question about how much you can add new witnesses during the course of the trial.
Yes, it's a great question. It's a great question, and usually there are deadlines for that, but both sides can also bring in rebuttal witnesses who have not been identified by either side. So there usually are some new witnesses at trial.
We have excuse me, joking here. Got a question from Lisa Morales. Are we going to see Justin Bieber on the stand? Very funny you should say that, Lisa. No, I don't think we're going to see Justin Bieber on the stand, particularly he came out today, Mina, right, and said that he is not a victim of Sean Combs. So by the way, we are going to do a sidebar on that. It's going to come out tonight. So I'm actually going to record it right after this. But Mina, no, right?
No, he's already put that to rest. That rumor has been running around on social media as well. In fact, social media started pulling up everyone who Diddy has been associated with. Since they were young, Justin Bieber, Usher. I think his attorney made a good point saying, mentioning Justin really takes away from some of the actual victims here, and that we need to focus on those victims. So no, I don't think Justin Bieber is going to be showing up here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think this is a misnomer and maybe a disappointment for people who thought this was going to be a celebrity-filled trial. Big names are going to be accused. That's not what this is. This is a very particular case with very particular witnesses. Having said that, there is reports that Dawn Richard is going to take the stand after Cassandra Ventura. By the way, you mentioned one of our viewers kindly mentioned sidebar. I want to just say something real quick. So,
Jesse.
I have to say it. I got to say it. Listen, We're constantly covering this case. We're constantly covering true crime news, and we make this content specifically for our YouTube audience. We just got the word that Sidebar was ranked number 32 in the top 100 podcasts on YouTube, and that is all thanks to you and your support and your viewership. Really, really thank you so much. Listen, not self-promoting, but I'm letting everybody know this is, we're making this for you guys, and we really, really appreciate everybody coming to us. Okay, here's a question from for you, Ben, from nlin93. How is redirect going to be after this cross? What's the best plan? That is a great question.
Great question. Redirect is different from cross, obviously, but it also should be short. I think what you do is just take the 3 or 4 things that you want Cassie Ventura to clean up and do it. I wouldn't spend much time. Her direct testimony was effective. The cross was, so-so. I would just pick 3 or 4 and then sit down and get to your next witness.
Yeah, Mina, because this is the thing, right? This is the thing what I think they have to emphasize. You might have agreed to freak-offs at the beginning. You might have agreed to freak-offs one at a time. It's like 99% of the time you could say yes, but the 1% you say no, right? That's all that matters, right, Nina?
Right, and that's exactly what I was going to say. They just need to establish the timeline, right? Both of those things can be true. Both of these sides of this relationship can be true. She could have been in a consenting, open relationship, but she also could have been in an abusive relationship in where sexually things were being done to her that she did not want. They just have to establish when those things happened. This is a 10-year on and off relationship. So much can change. I think it's really important to also point out that she started these alleged freak-offs when she was 22, right? At the end, she's in her 30s. Someone that is 22 can agree to something where a 30-year-old might be like, no, I'm not doing that. So they need to really clearly establish the timeline here, because I believe some of these text messages were from 2009. They're very early in their relationship. It's very easy to disapprove all of that, right? Yeah, they were in a consenting relationship at one point, but then it turned left, and then she found herself in a sexual relationship where she's having multiple partners that she didn't even know. She was not consenting to that, and she was being blackmailed with these videos. It's very simple to clean up.
By the way, so the court is back. We are going to provide real-time updates about what is happening. Obviously, no cameras, no recording equipment. So here's what's happening in court. They just got back. The judge said, let's get this done before the jury returns. Combs attorney Anna Estevao says, we still think it's appropriate for this message to come in. Not entirely sure what the message is, but Emily Johnson, who's one of the prosecutors, responds, we still have issues with phrases like, I'd like to reconnect. Johnson asks, what state of mind is this being offered for? The judge responds, there are portions that are properly admissible, so this needs to be redacted if it's going to be admitted into evidence. For example, in the 5th paragraph, I've been getting my life together. No. Combs' attorney, Ms. Estevao, says, we can get that in through other exhibits. The judge says, you can redact it right now. Estevao responds, I will do it right now. That's an interesting back and forth there. Obviously, the jury's not present, Ben, about what they can and cannot see about this controversial message or document.
Yeah, this is very typical during civil and criminal trials for the court to make rulings like that as to certain exhibits and what should and should not be redacted, and they can end up being quite important.
Yeah, and look, you got to be careful what you show the jury so it doesn't unfairly prejudice the case. Okay, we got a question from Chris Buono. Jesse, will Jonathan Odie be taking the stand? Excuse me, maybe testifying from jail? Chris, I got you. If you told me at the beginning of the case, I would say no. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, his name has come up more times than I thought he was going to. Are we gonna? I mean. By the way, his tape from 2018, where he's in the interrogation room and he's like, I was a sex slave of Sean Combs and Cassie, and I was like, oh my gosh. Now it's like, okay, he might have relevant information.
Right, but the thing with him is his credibility, right? he's kind of like a loose cannon a little bit from, and Jesse, you would know more, but the feel that I get from the videotapes that I've seen, he's kind of like a loose cannon, right? So I think
I would say that's a fair
credibility
assessment.
may be an issue here.
Well,
I don't know if the safest witness is what I'm saying.
I got to tell you, I did a sidebar recently where he was talking about, in the video, he talks about having a settlement with Sean Combs. The Daily Mail reported, and again, we reported on too, that there was this document that surfaced where it looks like a settlement offer where Sean Combs signed it. So things that may seem outlandish and wild maybe are now being backed up. I don't know. Okay, got a question for you, Ben, from Christina. Do we know if any other victims and how many will be testifying? Also, witnesses to these freak-offs. Can we expect any and how many?
I think that, and Jesse, you may know the exact number. I think we're going to hear from 3 additional victims.
Well, there were supposed to be 4, right? And one of them we can't find. So yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah, I had understood originally there were going to be 4, which really, I think, establishes the pattern, which also, again, begs the question as to how hard you're going to examine Cassie Ventura when you've got 3 other victims who are going to say the same thing. And yes, there may well be some witnesses, including the person in jail that you were just speaking about.
Yeah, I think other escorts or male performers may be taking the stand as well. Who they are, not entirely sure. Okay, here's a question for you, Mina. This is from Ari. Will Christina Coram, who is Sean Combs' former chief of staff, and Gene Deal, who at one point was his bodyguard, will they testify?
We don't know. I heard that they have about 100 people on the possible list. That's kind of the interesting thing about court. You could think something's happening or going to happen, and then there's a pivot because of maybe something that was said during testimony or cross.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay dipping.